We could talk about something that's more feminine in nature now, and that's the moon. And that's the symbol for the moon. It's just a fancy crescent. If you wanted to take it in its purest form, it is simply a crescent. The crescent is a receptive form. Oh, I gotta turn it. Do this with it. There we go. I put it down because otherwise I can't see Kate. She can't see me. So the moon is a crescent. A crescent is half of a circle, and that means that it lets energy in. You can think of the moon as being your own personal satellite dish. It collects energy, it holds energy. So it's all the things that we might think of that go with that, the fact that it can collect and hold energy. It is the sustainer, the nourisher, the receptor or receiver. And it is associated with all things feminine. It is the divine principle of the feminine. So it is associated particularly in the Middle Eastern cultures with the triple goddess and the mother goddess. The triple goddess actually came from, that concept came from Libya, what's now Libya, but it was transported across the Mediterranean into all the other cultures. And it's like the waxing, the full, and the waning moon is what that came from. So you have the maiden, mother, and crone. So this is the yin force as opposed to the yang of the sun. It is paired with the sun's energy, and the sun and moon are you could say, the two single most important archetypes in the chart. You know, if all you did was read sun and moon, you could go into a great deal of depth with a person and, get some really good material out. So what you have with the sun is you have motivation, you have purpose, and then the moon responds to that, and that's the classic yin and yang interaction. So yin is the power of waiting and receiving. It is very powerful. And is learning to fit in, to become part of the whole. Rather than making others fit around it, it tries to accommodate what other people are like. So the sun and the moon, the sun makes other people fit, the moon fits to other people. So if you have them working together in your chart, that's how the two parts of yourself work together. Does the one part of yourself work well with the other part? Does the part that wants to make something fit work with the part that wants to fit? Do those work together, or do they work against each other? So we can think of the moon as a container of experience, like a bowl. It provides form and location for the sun's expression. We can also think of it in another way as the matrix during the formative stage of any process of growth and development. But like a seed or the embryo. It is the embryonic stage, both in terms of what we really experience as we grow into a person, but and go through life until we become an independent being. The moon is the dominant archetype during that time. The moon is literally the matrix that forms us. So it is especially important before and immediately after birth, but also throughout childhood. The moon is also where we value, feel, and reflect emotions. You see how the moon changes its shape and its location in the heavens every day. And that depicts the process of our changing moods and emotions within ourselves. It is the most changeable of the planets, and it is the fastest moving of the planets. It moves 12 degrees per day, roughly speaking. So it's actually rises 17 minutes later every night. So it's where we record our experiences. It's as if it's the film in the camera. The sun is our ability to focus, or the the person standing behind the camera holding it is the sun. And the film in the camera is the moon. The camera itself is Mercury. So the film in the camera records our memories and holds it and makes sense of it, and that's what the moon does, integrates it into our nature, is memory and its results. So it's all our learned responses. If we experience something and we don't know how to parse it as a child, hopefully the people in the world around us will help us do that. But we may, if they don't help us in a conscious way, they'll help us by, we'll watch their reactions and then we'll think, okay, well that's what that means. Because they're reacting in that way, then we'll interpret what they're doing and take it into ourselves, and that's what we learn. If we have good support and guidance, then the person may be conscious of that and help us to interpret it by giving us a conscious understanding. Then sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's not. So we get all this conditioning from early childhood when we don't know what to expect, and we develop learned responses, strategies, formulae for success, and you get them in books all the time. This is my formula for success, right? And that's all stuff that is somebody else's moon experience, so you have to decide whether you want to use that or not. And we have to use our own filters. The moon is where we develop our filters as well. So the moon is also our habits, our vices, all learned responses, and our good patterns as well, our preconceived notions, our expectations of the world. It is the conditions from this, and we could say past lives as well. It operates unconsciously and handles the day-to-day routines so that we can focus on other things. So the difference between the sun and moon here could be described in what happens when we go to a job, okay? The first day we go to work, we're looking at the map and, you know, we've Googled it and we're, okay, I'm gonna stop here, and then there's 3 more stoplights and then I make a left, and, you know, and so forth. And we're very conscious of it. It's new experience. That's the sun doing its work, okay? Mercury's involved too, and Mars because you're driving. But, you know, the moon is not engaged in that process. But by the time you've done it, you know, 2 or 3 times, you're saying, well, you know, if I turn left here, then I'm going to avoid all that traffic at that big light, so let's do that instead. So that's where the sun's engaged. But after a week, it's like, did I stop at that sign or not? You know, the moon is engaged. The moon is doing the work now. You don't have to pay attention to that. You're thinking about that person that gave you this big job that you have to do, and you're trying to figure out how to get it done, and you're not even thinking about driving. So that's what happens. The moon takes over those routine tasks. We don't have to pay attention to them anymore. You know, if something unusual happens, like a jerk pulls out in front of you or something, then you pay attention. Okay, so it operates unconsciously, and that helps us to multitask. It represents our moods, reactions, emotional ups and downs, our instincts, and the sensations that we have in our body. You know, it's not just touch, but the sense of, you know, now I have this gut feeling about something. That's also associated with the moon. And it's our reactions to the world. It's how we learn and absorb our lessons in life. And it's also partially involved in absorbing education as well. You know, we can learn something with our mind and regurgitate it, but when it becomes part of the moon process is when it sinks home and we really have it, we really own it. That's the lunar process. Can you feel that sinking down in now? Okay, so the moon symbolizes within us mothers and motherhood, our attitude toward or experience of our mother or other caregivers, any nurturing influence or person like nurses and nannies and midwives and all of those kind of people. There's more of a list later I think I'm going to get to here. It represents our past, our source, our heredity, our family or tribe, and our personal history. There's also our subconscious or unconscious mind.